the man of the hour. Looking very distinguished today, sir.
Thank you very much. Likewise.
Thank you.
Next to the cookies, this is a good place.
Hi, folks. Have a seat, have a cookie. I'll give you another.
How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Welcome. Hi.
You're obviously
Would you be more uncomfortable up front here?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Maybe you can use to autograph it. You autograph it.
One straight Oh.
Okay, I think this one should be hot.
I'm going to turn them both on. And, set them down lightly.
Guys, ready? Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Susie Kane. I'm a member of the task force. I'm also on third board. Bunny Carpenter, who you see to my left, is the lead from the third board. We've been working in conjunction and very hard, might I say, since the spring on this project. We've been working with Stuart and Lynn. Lynn, as you know, is the president of the Garden Villa Association, and Stuart has the honor of being the first vice president of the association. So you all should have a copy of the agenda and slide presentation as you go. The whole point of making this is so that you do understand what is involved with this process. We want very much for you to be happy, to be living in a safe and beautiful environment, and we put a lot of effort into doing this for you. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Stuart, who needs no introduction, and he's made the presentation. He'll take it from here. If you have questions, if you can, hold them to the end, but Stuart's been gracious enough to say if you can't possibly wait, he'll entertain your questions.
Yep.
Stuart?
Yep, I think I'll use this right here. Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, good. So I live in the Garden Villa also, and I'm the building captain for 2393. So everything that we went through in coming up with ways to best go about the Breezeway improvement program applies to me personally, to the building that I live in and all the people who are in my building. There are 9 other buildings that I have some responsibility for as the regional representative, so I'm answerable to a total of 10 buildings. So everything that we did in working on this project was done with that in mind, that it's not over when I walk out of the room. I have to live with it personally as well as with all the buildings that I'm involved in. One might ask, why are we resurfacing the breezeways? And the first reason is to eliminate the existing uneven surface in the recessed area. You're all familiar, that recessed area which has the green fake carpeting, fake grass. It's uneven. A few weeks ago, I was walking to my car and I heard someone calling for help. And I followed the voice around. It was the next building over, and as I walked up the steps trying to follow that voice, there was a woman lying on the ground. And she had got her heel caught in that uneven surface, and she had a big lump on the front of her head. I called 911, and I was informed that this was not the first time she had fallen, nor was it the first time that other people had fallen. So this is the number one reason. This is a dangerous situation that must be rectified. The second reason is to reduce maintenance costs, and that is the cost of maintaining that green area and everything around it, including the drains, where it abuts the walls and the moisture that has affected the walls. It's a very costly procedure, and I don't know whether you are aware of it, but I know in my building, it's impossible to clean that area. When it gets leaves and twigs and dirt and dust on it, they've tried everything, including industrial-size vacuum cleaners, and you just can't keep that area clean. Then the third reason is dry rot repair and prevention of mold, and that's where that area abuts the walls. We have discovered that we've got dry rot to take care of. That's not only expensive, but it's also a danger to the structure of the building. So there is a proposed new care and maintenance policy that you'll hear more about. I'm just going to do a quick summary here that accompanies this project. Because as we got into it and we saw what changes were going to occur, we realized that this was not something being done in a vacuum. This was something that was affecting the buildings, in fact, all the Garden Villa buildings. The first thing we had in mind was we would like to wind up enhancing the value of our manors. The second thing is to create an element of uniformity among all the Garden Villa buildings. Now, I get to see a lot of the buildings, and the way their first floor is set up is very different among the buildings. In some buildings, there are in one building I can think of, there's dozens of planted trees. In other buildings, there's absolutely nothing. I mean, you look down that first floor and you think you're in a hospital corridor. In some buildings, you have people with furniture all over the place. In other buildings, there's no furniture at all. In some buildings, we have lots of private plants that are beautiful. In other buildings, we have lots of private plants that are not necessarily so. We wanted to try to create some uniformity, which will also enhance manor value. When realtors bring people in to look at a potential purchase of one of our units, this is what they see. So what do we want them to see when they come through, particularly when it gets to the point in time when you're thinking of selling your unit? What do you want people to be seeing when they come and visit our buildings? We also wanted to ensure resident safety, and that's that tripping problem. So this maintenance policy does brings those elements into play, as well as establishing color-coded areas, which I'll go through with you, which are designated for your personal plants and furniture, and also designated for a social area. That's a new thing that we have created for all of the buildings. There are steps involved, and please do interrupt me. It's not an interruption. Please ask a question if you have it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I understand that these 40-year-old buildings have gone through some changes with the carpeting that is in there now. It used to be thick enough to be even originally, so that you didn't have that hazard. But I guess it was too expensive to put in again, so they put in this lower carpeting. But we're really, actually, in our building, we're very happy with the decor we have, and we feel like it would not be a quote-unquote improvement.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the other way around. So, can we just opt out as a building, or?
Well, I think the answer to that's going to be no, and it's because we live in a community that is serviced by, taken care of by a management company that we hire and that we pay for. So it's important that there be some uniformity in the buildings, not only for value purposes, but also to be able to maintain them effectively. If they're, let me finish.
Being devalued, why do you want to bring us here and tell us, you might as well just leave?
I'm sorry.
We have no voice in this. You're telling us what you're gonna do, how you're gonna do it, when you're gonna do it. What am I here for?
Well, I hope you're here to find out what we're doing and why, and to ask questions about that. You're absolutely right. We live in a community where there are rules that apply to everybody. Some rules I don't like at all. Some rules I applaud. But I recognize that in a community of 18,000 people, every single rule that's here is a result of problems that occurred that had to be addressed for everybody. Now, your personal experience may be different than my personal experience, but if we had a different rule for you than for me, than for Steve, where would we be?
We have a lot of order. If your building wants to opt out, they should have the right to opt out. Just tell them not to come by. The buildings that don't have it and want your help, let them come in.
Well, I think there's a problem with that, and that is we would not have a lot of order. My opinion, and we don't have to go any further because we're going to get down to the ground scrabbling over this, and we don't have to. I think it would be disorder. I think it's really important that there be a common set of rules that everybody lives by. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, can we fill it up with cement dyed in green so it looks about the same thing?
Well, we talked about doing that, and there's some issues with that. There are a lot of people who don't like green, for instance, okay? And it also limits the ability to make some of the changes that we think are important that should be made if we just put things back exactly the way they were, because we still have the same problems that we had. And you know, I liked green. I voted for green. I was voted down. We live in a community here where I don't always get my way. And I've had people in my building come up with similar complaints about one thing or another, and I opt to live in this community. I don't have to. I can leave anytime I want. As long as there is a community, we do need to have rules that everybody abides by, even though we don't like them. For every person who doesn't like a rule, there is another person who thinks it's the best rule we could possibly have, and there's another person who's really not sure one way or the other. What do? Have 3 rules?
I have a little question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your anticipated cost for redoing these breezeways in each building?
I think it's around, is it $50,000 per building? Approximately, yeah.
And then is our assessment going to go up?
Now, if anything, this will probably keep your assessments from going up because the cost of maintenance will be recovered in a matter of a couple of years. That's one of the big reasons for doing this. The cost of maintenance for the way it's set up right now is high, and it's in some cases, maybe not in your building, but certainly in my building, unsuccessful. Our green area is always dirty. So, and I have people who complain about that. Now, to me, I don't care particularly because I live on the 3rd floor, right? Why should I bother? Well, I live in a building with everybody else. I'll get back to you. There's a lady back here.
I understand we need to replace the indoor-outdoor carpeting with cement, primarily because the manufacturing rules for indoor-outdoor carpeting has changed, and our windows burn stripes in them, and it doesn't hold up anymore. So, okay, you're gonna put cement in there. That's fine. That makes sense. It reduces overall cost. You said you're trying to solve additional problems. Well, when you put cement in, you're taking care of your wood rot problem as well. What are the other problems you're trying to solve?
Against where that area butts the walls, there's been deterioration because of the moisture.
That's caught in the indoor-outdoor?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's going away. Are there any other problems you're trying to solve?
Well, we'd like to bring, So that was it. And then we said, well, while we're at it, what are we going to do here? Are we going to bring any enhancements? Are we going to improve other things while we're at it? And so we looked at these new set of resolutions, yeah.
What's the logic behind trying to make my building look like every other building?
Well, your building will never look like every other building, nor will mine, because the plants that I have outside of my door and the containers that they're in are unique. The plants are unique. And anybody who comes to my front door doesn't think that my place looks like anybody else's, okay? That my floor does not look like any other building that I have been to, because there's different furniture that's put out, there are different plants that are put out, there are some buildings that there's nothing put out, there's some buildings where there's plants put out, private plants that are not maintained at all. They don't look the same, and they're not going to look the same, but there will be some uniformity. There will be some limits on the area that can be used for plants and for furnishings, so that it's not up to me to decide that I feel like using up every bit of space that's in front of my door and put any kind of furniture and any kind of plant that I feel like putting out.
Don't we have rules that already govern that in our bylaws?
We do.
And the CCNR?
Yeah, we do, and
Are
we're,
we extending or modifying our CCNR bylaws?
yeah, we're tightening up the prior resolution. We're tightening that up. Yes, ma'am.
Do we, is everybody gonna have the same plant in the public area? I mean, our building has gorgeous plants. Are you gonna get rid of all the beautiful?
Well, what I was hoping was to get your plants for my building, and I give you my plants. Now, the answer is no. So, you know, as a practical matter, so there are three different plantings to talk about, so we can understand this. Yeah.
I just want to make sure, I'm going to pass the mic around so we can capture, because we're
Ah,
taping this, so we
okay.
can capture your questions.
Good, thanks, I didn't know that.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so there are three types of plants that we can be talking about. There are two types of third mutual plants. Those are the large potted plants, and there's also the planters. There are also the 4 planters that each one of our buildings have. So the types of plants that go into those planters are different than the types of plants that go into the big pots. Those are all provided by Third Mutual. Third Mutual responsibility to maintain those plants. I'm not happy with how our plants have been maintained, so that's one of the points that we were making here. We wanted to establish a clear responsibility for Third Mutual, not only to maintain them, but to refresh them. So all these plants are going to be refreshed as soon as, you'll see as we get to the steps, so that we've got good-looking plants there. But they're not going to replace every plant. They're not going to give you mine or mine yours. The plants that your building has, unless they need to be refreshed or replaced, will probably stay. They may go in a fresh pot if your pot is cracked or damaged. They will go on top of coasters, which they should have done all along. We also are going to have to put our plants on top of coasters. And the reason for that is so that they can be moved when they need to clean and resurface the area. And also so that they can be moved for reconstruction purposes like we're going through now. Also to raise them a little bit off the ground. So we don't have our floor level damp all the time from these plants. Yes, sir?
Have you checked?
Yeah.
Have you checked with an attorney?
You want to talk through that, please?
Have you checked with an attorney to evaluate the liability? Because it seems to me you're reducing the risk of being sued by putting this in.
I hope so.
Well, I think everybody should understand and know that.
Yeah, I hope so. And so all of us should understand who pays for lawsuits. You know who pays for the hiring of defense counsel and who pays for the ultimate award that's given? You got it. We pay for it. Okay, so, you know, it's kind of like the United States government right now. I may not approve and agree with everything that's going on there, but, you know, unless I am willing to run for office, I'm going to have to depend on those people, and I have to give my input to them. But, you know, they're going to do things I don't like. They're going to do things that I really like. And I hope that they're going to protect my interests. The last thing I want is for them to incur liability rather than reduce liability.
Let's try to move along here.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to keep anybody quiet. Okay. I have all afternoon marked off my calendar. Okay, so here's the picture of what these areas are going to look like when they are resurfaced. So they're going to be, so the concrete will be level all the way across, and two colors of cover paint, protective paint, will be put on the surface. One color designating common walking area, common area where I do not have the right to put my plants or my furniture or anything else. And then a different color that is in front of my unit, my area to use to put plants and furnishings. So it's really clearly delineated. Right now, it's not clearly delineated. In my building, I have one person on the first floor who is taking up an enormous amount of room, and other people who aren't taking up any room at all. And you know, I don't have anything. I have people come to me and say, you know, how come they're doing that? And the answer is because they're doing that. We don't have any bounds of what's appropriate in these buildings, so that we're setting up some bounds.
Quick question.
Yes.
The walkway.
Who's got the microphone?
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I apologize.
The proposed walkways, are they going to be under the existing walkways so people could move about without getting wet in the rain?
Yes, we made certain that they are. Someone said something about it. I had actually chalked an area and then I had to rub it all out with my foot. And yes, yeah, you're absolutely on target, and we will.
Thank
those will
you.
be protected. That we had marked off some new walkways that failed to come under the protection of the building when it rains. So we changed the marking, and that was taken into account when we ended up with this ultimate marking. Good question. Okay, so consider, step one is going to be the removal of plants and furniture. So before they can do any work on the surface, all the plants and furniture, including the third mutual plants, everything but the planters will have to be removed. And those of us who have furniture and plants and pots, et cetera, they're going to have to be moved away while this work is being done. That's step one, removal of all the plants and furniture.
Inside the doorways too? Inside the screen doors?
No, ma'am. It's not inside the screen doors. It's only what's out on the walkways. Yes. Consider what plants and furniture you want to get rid of. This is your big opportunity, because anything that's not tagged and moved to the designated area will be taken away for you. Anything that you will not fit within your designated color-coded area, you might as well do something with now, because it's not going to go back where it was, because it won't fit where it was. Yes, ma'am.
How are residents going to know what their space is before the pavement's in and painted?
Well, we've got the example here.
Yes, but how is that going to communicate to our individual residents? Because it isn't the same for each unit.
Well,
You could say you've got an area that's
Yeah.
4 feet by 6 feet.
that's a good question. We'll have to think about that one. We could certainly draw lines.
Because how else are they going to know how many plants or what plants they can keep?
Well, we do have the drawings, the mechanical drawings that are to scale, and I suppose we could share, that might be a good idea, to share those drawings, which are to scale, so you know exactly how many feet, you know exactly the dimensions.
Yeah, because it's at the moment, it sounds like you're asking us to choose what plants we're keeping
But you-
prior to our knowing how much space we have.
Good question. Thank you for that. And I think that what we should do is share those drawings. Yes? Makes sense? Okay? Good. Here comes the microphone.
Is that for all the floors?
Is that what for all the floors?
Just the bottom,
Well, today, as we do each one of these buildings, it's just the bottom floor that we're working on. Ultimately, when the walkways are resurfaced on the second and third floors, when we go through the painting cycle, we will probably do a very similar thing on the second and third floor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So consider what will fit, and yeah, good point. We need to give you the dimensions so that you'll know what you have to work with. Plant storage will be in the back or the front area away from your building, and that plant storage will be designated by yellow sticks. And your unit number will be on one of the yellow sticks, and that will be the area that your plants will go to. Any furnishings you have will have to be stored in another place. We'll get to that. So that'll be marked there. Your furniture may be stored either inside your manor or underground in your underground parking area. Yes.
How are we going to water these plants when they're outside, stored away from the building?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, what we will probably do is provide that connection to a bib with a hose, so it's handy for you to be able to do that.
There'll be a hose and a bib. I don't know what a bib is, but I'm sure it's the right thing.
It's, a hose connection to the outside spigot.
Yeah, okay.
So we can connect the hose and you can water your plants.
Okay.
We're gonna get the kind of hoses that shrink down to nothing and stay out of the way, out of sight.
So your question is, sir?
Are we going to get big, long, ugly hoses, or are we going to get the kind that shrink down to nothing so you can't see them?
You know the obvious answer to that.
Yeah.
Just making sure that nobody forgets about it.
Yeah.
It'll be the long, ugly hose.
Yeah. That way nobody will trip over it accidentally.
We'll make sure that we set them up in a place where they're not across the pathways or anything like that.
And there'll be help moving the plants and furniture back when we're ready.
Okay.
Who's responsible for the coasters on their plants? Who's going to provide them?
You're going to provide your plants, you will provide your own coasters. I will provide my own coasters for my plants, which I should have been doing all along. And I did for most of them, but there are a few that I didn't, and I need to buy not just coasters, I need to buy coasters and to make sure that there's a dish under each.
Skip that one, we'll go back to slide 3. It talks about assistance.
Okay. Thank you.
It has the saucers underneath.
So for ourselves, for our own plants, we're going to have to supply our own saucers and our own coasters. Yes, ma'am, there's a question back there. Hold 1 second so you can say it to the microphone, because this is being recorded and your grandchildren are getting a copy.
Okay. What happens when it rains with the coasters? The water stays, because I have a few plants, so the water stays in the coasters, which it means mosquitoes. And once in a while I have to dump them, when it rains, I have to lift the plant from the little container, I don't know really what you call coasters. You mean those plastic, like little cups, so the water stays there, because then if there is even a drop of water, then it creates mosquitoes.
Yeah, so here's the good news. You're right. Here's the good news. How often does it rain? Yes. Yeah, I mean, we can't solve every single. It's better to have the coasters and take care of it when it does rain than to not have the coasters because twice a year it's going to rain. Yep.
She's asking the question. She thinks the plastic dish that you have under the pot are the coasters. That's not it. These are wheeled stands that your plants have to be on. These are wheeled stands that your plant has to be on. That's in the CC&Rs, that when you have a pot out in front of your house or on your balcony, you have to have a coaster under it, which is to be able to move the thing.
Yeah, so Yeah, so, yeah. There'll be pictures. I have pictures coming up. So the young lady over there who asked the question, so we have to have coasters underneath which have wheels on them. Some of the coasters actually also have the dishes that go along with it. Others come without dishes, so we have to put the dishes underneath and then the coaster, dishes on top of the coasters, plants on top of the dishes. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Last winter, we had a lot of rain, and the water did fill up in the saucers under the plants, and I had saucers under all my plants. The plants got root rot and started to die, and once that happens, if you don't transplant the plant, et cetera, it will die. So what I did was put rock, well, actually, I took the saucers away, and some I put back, but most I did not put back. I put stones that would keep the plant up above the level of water that would go in the saucer. So that is one way.
That's one way to do
It
it.
doesn't solve
Yeah.
the mosquitoes.
No, well, and I think this is one instance where it is okay to tip the saucer so that the water goes on the surface, because what's in your saucer is the rainwater that didn't go on your surface because your saucer caught it. So you can tip your saucer and let the water out. Okay, so if you require assistance removing your plants and/or your furniture, staff will be available to do this for you. They will remove them and they will return them. Your responsibility is to tag your plants and your furniture so that they know where to put them. So you've got that yellow stake out there. Your plants will be tagged and they will put them right where your yellow stake is that has your name on it. And they know where to bring them back to because you've tagged it. Anything that you don't tag, the assumption will be made that you want this removed and not returned. Same thing with your furniture. Tag your furniture. Your furniture will be taken to the designated area. For instance, in my case, I would probably move my car out onto the street and use my parking area and put my furniture there, but you all have choices that you can make. You could take it inside your unit. You could take it and put it on your balcony. But so if it's going to be it's going to be moved by staff, then you need to tag your furniture with your name and your unit number, and you need to tag your plants with your name and unit number. Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying their plants are going to be outdoors for 60 days, 10 to 2 weeks before construction, and then a 50-day construction. Those plants are going to be outside for 2 months.
That's what it looks like, yes, ma'am.
So you're going to kill anything we have that's good. Yeah. Oh, you don't want it.
Thank you.
We will let it happen. They said that as with carpeting. They had some.
How are you proposing that we tag our plants so there's a consistency so the people moving them recognize that the plant is tagged?
Your plants are sitting outside in front of your unit right now. That's where they will pick them up from. And they will take them to the designated area that has your name and your unit number on it.
If somebody uses a sticker and somebody else uses a ribbon and somebody else uses a plastic hang tag.
As long as their name and their unit number is on it, I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Yep.
It'll be placed next to a yellow stake with your unit number on it.
Okay.
Any more
I'm
questions?
good.
You're good.
For the moment.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a general picture of what it's going to look like. I would make one change to this picture myself. Yeah, one change. The colors need to be reversed. Actually, the dark and the light need to be reversed. Other than that, this is totally accurate. Okay,
I think the cement on the darker areas, you should have a few stones, a few little rocks, you know, where the plants sit. So when the plants, they make a mess or with the water, you know, it still overflows, then you will not see the dirty spots from the plants. You know, they should mix them with a combination of like little rocks of different colors. So when it gets dirty, it doesn't show. I think it will look better.
perhaps, but you should be sitting, your plant should be sitting in a bowl, in a dish on top of a coaster, so that shouldn't even happen. There will be no more marks from your plants sitting on the ground, because they're not going to be sitting on the ground anymore.
Yeah, but it's still, I think it's like a carpet, you know, when it has some little, you know, then the dirt doesn't show.
I see,
You know,
okay.
It's harder.
And
Okay.
everybody does their own watering, so we're going to have lots of overflows.
Well,
And-
one of the things we were requesting is that you try not to have lots of overflows out of consideration for everybody who lives here. If you have lots of overflows and that results in having damage that has to be,
Promise I won't, because I
Okay.
understand plants.
okay.
My neighbors don't.
Well, you might suggest to them if you see it overflowing, maybe you don't want to do that. See, what happens is the rules that are promulgated are there to keep our costs down. The idea here is to keep our costs down.
But not if it makes the building worse, then it keeps us.
Yeah, okay, good. Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask about the surface of the new concrete. The current concrete has a lot of little creases and areas, and dirt accumulates in those areas, and then if it gets wet, whatever, it gets stained. And so my building has a lot of stained concrete. So are you putting down something that will be entirely smooth?
No,
Or
it's
is it
gonna
going
be
to
this-
have crease?
It'll be it's going to look exactly like what you have now. It's going to be, the surface is going to be covered with a new coating of preservative over it. Every time buildings are painted, that's part of that process. We get a whole new paint on top of that concrete. I know exactly what you're talking about. Not only that, but you know what else? I have nicks on my wall. There are people who forget to get padding put on inside the elevator, so I got nicks on my brand new walls. There's a lot of stuff I don't like, but not everything can I do anything about.
All right, how are you going to
if-
clean?
I
I'm
was
sorry.
going to say, if I could expand on your answer, Stuart, the new areas won't have the creases that you see on the walkways. They'll be smoother. They won't have those little creases that retain dirt. Yeah,
Oh,
they'll be
okay.
smooth.
Oh,
The
that's
same
good.
texture,
Same
but
texture,
won't
yeah.
have those
Thank you.
little holes.
Thank you,
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Well, how are you going to clean the new surfaces?
I'm not going to clean
Well,
it.
oh, dear.
I'll tell you how I'm not going to do it. I mean, how's it going to be clean?
Yeah, we're not allowed to use water to clean it, so the dirt and dust just stays in those creases.
Yeah, we'll be using the same methods that they're using right now.
The blower?
Yeah, they're probably either blowers or some other way of getting that dirt out of those creases. But
Vacuum, yeah.
But in the new areas, we're not going to have that problem. So
Oh, okay.
Please don't use the blowers, it will just blow up onto us on the third floor.
Comes in the kitchen window.
yes,
Please don't.
I think that we will be using vacuums in
Vacuums
almost all
rather than-
cases
yeah.
unless there's an extreme
Yeah.
storm, right?
Okay, so let me move forward. The project will create intermittent noise and dust as they get to each phase where they've got to drill something. We're going to have some noise and some dust. Residents will be able to enter and exit their manors anytime while this is going on. If you've all experienced when they paint, what they do is leave a strip for you to be able to get in and out, and then they move the strip over and paint the other strip. So everybody will be able to get in and out without any difficulty. The contractor will be required to clean the work area every day. So we're going to try our best to minimize the dirt and the dust that's created by cleaning it every day at the end of the day. If you have concerns about this project, don't call me. Yeah, you can call me, it's okay. Roger Richter, where are you, Roger? Okay, so this is Roger's project. He's been told he gets no sleep for the next 6 months. So his phone number is 949, don't want to confuse it with my phone number, 949-268-2591. And you can call him with concerns that you have about what's going on with the project. I know I have found out late in life that I'm not perfect. It was a shock to, yeah, it was a shock to my system to find out. And I'm not sure whether I got less perfect when I got older or I just wasn't aware of how imperfect I was when I was younger. So things are not going to go perfectly, even though we're doing our darndest for them to go perfectly. And that's why Roger's available to help. So please let him know if there's a problem going on so that it can be fixed.
It's also, his number is also on the last line of the agenda, and you can see written on bathroom walls throughout the community center. So anyway, he is very available. He gets high marks from everyone, including our chairperson, Rose Marie. So that's a highest compliment.
Actually, there was a contest for who could get this project. Roger had to give up some pay in order to get this project, in order to win it.
Okay, we have a question?
Yes.
I'm planning on having a meeting in my building. Can I borrow those?
Sure, that's why we did it.
How do we go about getting them? Who do we call?
Just let us know. We'll make them available to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you need them.
Yep. This is also being, this is being videoed, so the entire meeting, including all the questions, can be played at your, I'm sorry? At your leisure, yes. When you have your meeting, and if you like, Lynn and I will come to that meeting to answer questions and be of any help we can. On the other hand, if you don't want us there, just tell us, we won't be there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I want to ask you, how are they going, the people that have plants, okay, and they water them, they also fertilize them, how are you're going to keep the stains off the painted area?
Well, I hope that when you fertilize them, you're going to be putting the fertilizer inside of the container, okay? And so the only way that fertilizer should leave a stain would be from the water that you use when you water it, and that water will be going down into the dish, so it shouldn't be going onto the floor and staining anything. That's one of the reasons why we're saying you need dishes, and you also need to have the casters underneath of it. That's what we don't want, that water going on.
Because we have a problem now with people on the second and third floor. When they water, it comes down to the first floor and it stains the cement.
That's correct. And you'll see when you ultimately get the final resolution, we have addressed that. You're prohibited, subject to a penalty, from sending water from your unit downstairs to the unit below you. You're not the first person who's experienced that. So this is inconsideracy of the people above you, and they're not allowed to do it. And that's why we have the rule, because you shouldn't have to deal with it. That means that if it happens, you call security. Or you call compliance. And let them take care of it. You don't have to take care of it. All you have to do is call compliance.
No, but sometimes it's not you, it's Mother Nature. It rains a lot, so when the plants cannot hold any more water, then it just,
Our compliance department has a deal with Mother Nature like you've never heard of before. You're right. There are some things we're not going to be able to do. You're right.
I just think that for the color of the cement, I still think that it should be like a mixture of little colors, so it will look prettier, and then the whatever the plants make, you don't see it. If you mix it with a few colors, I mean, then it will not show as much as one solid color.
On the other hand, if you have it like that, we will encourage people to make sure that the things are dropped all over it because you can't see it. I think it's better that they see it myself so that they stop dropping things all over it. So next, this is a picture of what, it's just a concept of what this is going to look like when it's all over. Where the mutual plants are going to be placed, the areas at each end of the hall that are now going to be designated as social areas for the building. The planters that are there right now, just a concept picture of what this will be looking like. Yes, ma'am. We need a microphone over here so we can capture all the way down there. Yeah, yeah. Well, she had 7, she signed up for 7 questions. This is number 7.
Oh, darn. In the designated social area, I see there is a dark line going through it. Is part of that area for the resident who lives right next to it?
Exactly, exactly.
So how is somebody supposed to get more than 2 people into the social area? Between dodging the plants, the personal area, and the proposed furniture?
This was drawn to scale, so I think...
Not to mention that you've got a staircase there, which is rather hazardous.
Yeah, so it was drawn to scale, and I think that there is room for all of the above, but I could be wrong.
It just kind of looks tight.
Yeah.
Our building has a tradition every time the power goes out, we grab our glass of wine or whatever we're drinking, and snacks if we wish to share them, and go into the center of the breezeway, where there's ample room for 20 or 30 of us.
Right.
This designated social area doesn't look like it's ample room safely for anybody.
Yeah, so the common area that you all go to whenever the power's out, there's nobody stopping you from going to that area the next time the power is out. We're just designating areas to be used on an ongoing basis, hoping that it will stimulate some socializing in the buildings that aren't doing anything about this right now. Okay, this is another view of what the landscaping is likely to look like once this is all done. And you notice that the plants there all have dishes and coasters. Yes, ma'am. Did I
Yeah,
interfere with your thought?
Yes. Oh, the staircases.
Yes.
They do take up a lot of room.
They do.
And they're very dangerous. I know because I got a concussion from hitting my head.
Hitting your head on it, yeah.
Yeah.
We have to be careful of that. You're absolutely
So-
right, and let's make sure that we are. Okay. Another view of what the common area will be looking like with the refreshed plants in the planters. And another view. Wait a minute, this is not moving. Okay. Now, there's a contest here, and anybody who comes up with the right answer can have a chocolate cookie. Oh, they were going to get a chocolate cookie anyhow. Well, no, there's special chocolate cookies. You wait and see. So what's wrong with this picture?
No wheels.
Yep.
Raise your hand, please.
Okay. That's
raise your
exactly right. There are no casters and there are no dishes underneath of these. And that's the problem with that picture. What's right about this picture? Yeah, about this picture. Casters and wheels is what's right about this picture. So these are just concepts of how these areas can be set up. Now, the way I'm looking at this, it seems to me it's been clear of the stairway. And these were done to scale by an architectural firm that received a fair piece of change to do this work so that it would be done to scale. Here are some examples of the kinds of furniture that you might want to put into, your building might want to put into their social area. The furniture that goes in the social area is paid for by the building. It's not being provided by Third Mutual. There's pricing available if you're interested in these particular furniture. Also, you can see the types of coasters that are available with and without the dishes included. We're also working on getting a discount, a significant discount on coasters for people. And we will share with you where you can go to get the discount on those coasters. Yes, ma'am.
Can we go back to the previous picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have question is, we have some gigantic, gorgeous plants in our building, but on here, it seems that, do we get to put all of those plants like in the light area or the dark area?
The plants that are, the dark area is where all the plants are going to go, yes. So if you have plants that belong to the building and are not third mutual plants, that's where they would go. And you may have nothing but plants there and have no furniture, that's your choice.
Okay, as long as we have space, because.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
And that line that's drawn there is the additional area set up for that unit, the end units, so that they have the same amount of space for plants and furniture as the in-between units.
Will you paint that line on there?
Yes, that line is going to be painted on there, yeah. I looked at this as a building captain, that it's very difficult for me to explain rules to people in my building. For various reasons, it's difficult to. Some people, it's a language barrier. Some people, it's a ability to understand what I'm saying or how I'm saying it. So at least we're given half a chance to follow the rules by having this all drawn in, yeah.
The line that's going to be painted on, is it going to be in a discreet and modest color that...
Fuchsia.
Not neon pink?
No, black. It's going to be black, I think.
And fairly thin, so we can
Yes.
see it, but it doesn't
But not,
necessarily
yeah,
distract.
not taking up room, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the timeline. And so this is a big project. It's going to take approximately 50 days. The first day or two will be to move and store plants and furniture. Then they're going to be, now all three buildings are going to be done at the same time. And they're going to move from building to building. And in case you're not aware of it, you're the first three buildings. So we're hopeful. We want input from you as we progress on this, and if we have made a mistake and we could do something better, we'd like to know about it. The reason for doing three buildings first is to find out how this thing is working out that we never thought about. And
If we have a thought now, is there some place we can go? So where are the guinea pigs?
well, yes, yeah. So she went. Is there? Yeah, you certainly can. But what we've outlined, we got to start someplace. If I took a thought in my building from everybody, went from door to door to door, of what we ought to do about something, it will never get done.
See, I'm already, that's not fair.
It is fair. It'll never get done if I try to satisfy every single person in my building. Sometimes I don't even tell them they have a choice, because they'll just drive me up the wall, and I'll have half of the people in the building angry with me and half of the people happy with me. I don't need that. So we've got to be able to have a project done. And so we have the rules under which we're going to do this project, but we do want to learn along the way. We're not going to change it at the get-go. This is going to happen just like I described it to you. We may make changes as we go along if necessary. We may make changes after it's done if necessary, but we're not going to make any changes today. We have to do this project. Any other questions?
Do we have
Yes.
a start date?
So the,
Start date?
so the question was, do we have a start date?
So the start date will likely be in about 4 weeks. We need to get proper notifications to all of you so that you know when. That'll take some time. We also need to get with the contractor and redo the contract, because there is a contract that's already signed, but the contract is going to be redone because we reconfigured the areas. So all in all, in about 4 weeks, we could possibly start a contract.
Okay?
They're starting at 7?
I'm sorry?
Are they starting at 7 every day?
Yeah, the work hours are between 7 and 8. We allow the contractor to be there, but it's quiet hours. So they cannot do any jackhammering or any saw cutting or anything like that.
Until 8 o'clock?
Until 8 o'clock, that is correct. And that'll go till 5 p.m. And then on Saturdays, the hours are from 9 to 3. And there's no work on Sundays or holidays.
Okay. I think I'm done.
Is that it? Okay, Ernesto, do you have anything you'd like to add? I mean, I know for sure that Ernesto has done this before, and it's going to go very smoothly. I have complete confidence in him.
Yeah, again, we're going to try to make this as painless as possible to you. There's no such thing as zero pain when you construct anything. There's noise and dust associated with it. We're going to work with the contractor. We have a very good contractor who knows the community in and out and understands the issues associated with our community. You're here to be retired, not to be part of a project. We're going to accommodate all of you with the ingress and egress from your manors. There'll be very few times, perhaps when we're adding the coating onto the floors, that we may ask you if you can wait, so that we can let the coating cure. But if you need to get out, we'll accommodate you. We'll do it in pieces, just the way we paint the breezeways right now. During the construction, one of the things that we're going to have to do is cut the stucco along the manor because we are filling these areas with a little bit of concrete. There's a little thing at the bottom of your wall that is called weepscrete. And what that does, it allows the water from the stucco to drain out so that it doesn't rot the wood behind it. We want to make sure that we cut the stucco that's there right now and raise that above that area so that you have a very good, well-ventilated wall. So when it rains, whenever moisture gets to it, that water gets out and evaporates. So that is going to entail saw cutting that part of the stucco. It goes fairly quickly. And then the other portion of it that will generate noise and dust is the areas that are recessed areas. We're going to jackhammer them a little bit to create a surface that we can add the new concrete and that will adhere to it. But other than that, it's a fairly straightforward project. They're not going to mix any concrete up on the floor or anything like that. We're going to have mixers pull up to the parking lot and put their concrete into a pump. And then with that pump, we're going to pump the concrete up to the building. That operation should go very quickly. So other than that, we've done this many times, but you've never experienced it. But we're going to make every attempt we can to end up with a project that is sustainable and from a cost perspective, and also something that is nice for you to look at. So, and again, there's Roger. You can always call him if there's any questions. So if you need me out there, I'll be out there. We'll work with the contractor hand in hand, make sure that this is as smooth as possible for you. And another thing that Stuart alluded to that is very, very important to us, as we go through this, we do want to hear from you, any feedback to improve the process, to make it easier with the other buildings perhaps, or as we go along the mutual and we make these improvements, or any feedback that you can provide us on the experience of having this project go through will be very helpful to us so we can make it better for the next building. Yes, ma'am?
I'm planning to put in a garden window, so I'm assuming I either get it done within the next 30 days or in 4 months from now or 3 months from now, correct?
Not necessarily. You can do that. This will not impact your work. If you want to get it done right away, obviously you can go ahead and do that. But after it's not, this work will not prevent you from doing any,
No,
do
but
that
your
in your
worker
garden
will be
window.
there. I assume I'm on the 3rd floor. They probably have to put a scaffold or something. I don't know how they do it. But, I mean.
For your garden window?
Yeah.
No, not necessarily. Once we're done with the project, remember we're putting concrete in there.
So I'm saying this,
Yeah.
before either before you start or after you're done, right?
Yes, not during our project.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm
yes,
saying
I
it's
got you.
either in the next 30 days before you start
Or after.
or 3 months from now or something.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I live in 2385, and we function a little bit differently as far as
Excuse
the
me.
breezeway is concerned.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, go ahead.
2385, and we function a little differently as far as the breezeway is concerned. And I wrote out some of my thoughts, and I wanted to read them because I want you to be familiar of what we have been doing. I was a gardener before coming here. I designed people's yards and church yard, that sort of thing. Nothing big, nothing professional. But I picked Laguna Woods over Seal Beach, even though Seal Beach was closer to my daughter, because of the landscaping here and because you had rules that allowed a lot of various kinds of planting, and they didn't have to be in straight lines, for instance. When I moved here, our breezeway was very stark, it was barren, it was uncared for, and it was unwelcoming. My first year I did nothing but put my wooden table and 4 chairs on the breezeway and learn about Southern California plants. The second year, I planted the large brick box nearest to my door. Then the neighbor across from me asked me to plant the large brick box near her. I did, and she put out a rickety old chair to sit in and enjoy it. I saw a wrought iron table and 4 chairs, very cheap, at Salvation Army and discussed it with her. I bought it for everyone in the building to use and to get to know each other. The residents have donated plants. I won some plants at the Garden Club raffles, bought some at estate sales, and I propagated a lot of plants. Because the residents at the other end of the breezeway said they sure wished I would come down there and landscape that area. So then, over the years, I have bought pots, lots of pots, bags of soil, soil enrichments, tools, hoses, nozzles, and seedlings. I found a cheap wooden bench and 2 chairs for another socializing area down that end. And I found rocks and arranged them for a more natural look. And important for the residents, I took responsibility for caring for it all.
I think I know which one your manor is.
2385, yes. I did the planting, the trimming, cleanup, watering, and designing the arrangement of plants for beauty, socialization, ease of movement from and to all locations, and a welcoming, warm feeling. Now I have 95 plants on the floor and 45 small ones on tables. It has gone from 0 other people on the first floor units having plants out by their door to everybody on the first floor putting out at least 2 plants. And you would think that with all those plants, but it doesn't look cluttered or jungle-like. My goal was to create a home-like environment of nature's beauty. Research shows a worldwide beauty choice of a Hudson Valley type with trees, water source, and soil that grows fruitful plants. This is innate, and it is a fitness indicator and also requires that everything be well done to be considered beautiful. Our appreciation of beauty, and this is a quote from this research, is a gift from our ancestors which enables our survival and brings happiness. The researchers of beauty say that survival may depend on experiencing beauty. Doctors now prescribe walks in woods and parks to relieve stress. Ideally, there should be something beautiful wherever the eye lands. Beauty can transform a community, so I work on enhancing the lives of those who live here. Also, as you all mentioned, you get a higher price if something is beautiful because it's more desirable. Whether you're walking, through the breezeway, looking down on it from above, sitting reading with coffee or wine. I want the beauty and amenities to make life more pleasant and create a sense of community in our building. So we live in a place that feels like home with an extended family. Residents can find added security from knowing their neighbors, have close by socialization above and beyond the clubs and activities, and help each other at difficult times. New residents can get to know the current residents and the building as well, and adjust to a new place, which is often hard for seniors. Residents have a place that they can be proud to invite others to visit, and there are landmarks to mention when you're giving direction to others to find the particular unit. Of course, those who choose not to socialize are allowed to do that. We honor it. So in conclusion, my concern was that we would like to continue to have our thing and be late on the rotation of doing the new breezeways. And I know what your response is.
No, I think that's very well articulated, and we appreciate that. I think that the intent of this project is not to discourage you to grow plants and have an environment that's attractive and that encourages interaction among all of you. I think that's the intent. But again, the elimination of trip hazards, security, reduced maintenance, your cost, and to provide dry rot, it's a huge problem that we have in the community. All of that is embodied into this project. But again, the intent is not to discourage you to have those plants out there. We want to see those plants. I think that within the bounds of what's being discussed, those plants can be there. What you've done out there can be accommodated. So I think it's a win-win for all of you.
Okay, my name is Steve Parsons. I'm an officer on Third Mutual. Our president, Rosemary De Lorenzo, asked me to be here to represent her. She had some things that she wanted me to bring forward that may not have been brought up in the overall briefing today. Let me start back a little bit. This is not a new project. This has been ongoing for quite some time. What, about 3 years at least, something like that? Okay, so what it is we're trying to push it to the point now where we're getting something done. And like has been mentioned several times, we have safety and health issues that are paramount, which have legal ramifications to them. We have to take care of this because it's our fiduciary responsibility. We have to just take care of our residents and make sure we do things as best as possible. Okay, when this project started, at least my conceptual identity of it, was all we were going to do is replace the AstroTurf with some concrete, move it around a little bit, make it nice, then also take care of the dry rot. Okay, two things you should know here. First thing is, you're in common area. We are allowing you to use some common area. And this is basically limited. In other words, to say, we don't give away common area anywhere in Third Mutual. We have a policy. So that whole breezeway, sorry folks, that's common area. But we are allowing you to use these social areas because we know that you need to get out in front of your building. We are allowing that in the 3-story buildings. So this is a privilege. Nobody else is going to get this. So you need to understand that. There are rules that come along with this. You'll be seeing these as the Landscape Committee develops what the rules are for what constitutes clutter, what constitutes a nice area, what plants you can pick from and things like that. John back here in the back and Susie right here are on the Landscape Committee. They and their committees and the staff are going to be working with this. So please don't think you're going to go out and put a whole barrier of plants that surrounds your area. It's not going to happen, okay? As far as having a drip pen under each of your plant stands, that's not required. It always has been, okay? And it's not something that you can not have. Compliance will come and you'll have to come to a compliance hearing and we'll have to deal with you. I'm just trying to put things out in front of you so you know the benefit, the privilege that you have, but also it comes with responsibilities. okay? Something else that we need to talk about is the amount of time VMS has to help you or assist you with moving plants, okay? This is your responsibility. It's really your responsibility. If you are incapable or something happens that makes you incapacitated to do this, then they can help you. But their time is extremely limited, and Third Mutual is paying for this, okay? So please don't think that these folks are going to march in with an army and move everything for you. It's not going to happen. You have to take some responsibility for this. Here again, work with your landscape department or your landscape committee here and with Roger over here, and they'll work with you on this. The other thing when this started out, we had envisioned small amount being spent. This has more than tripled just because of people's preferences and things like that, which at first the board pretty much took exception to, but then we started looking at it and saying, okay, yeah, we can give a little bit here, a little bit there. So what you see here is something that you folks have actually had a big input on. Please don't think that you haven't, because your Gardenville Association committee meetings, they've talked about this. Stuart's gone around, other folks have gone around from that association and talked to people, gotten inputs, which has led us to this, okay? So be aware that the cost is pretty significant to us right now. So we're not willing to go above what we've authorized for this project. So these are things that our chairman of Third Mutual wanted me to mention. And if you have any concerns about costs, things like that, come up and talk to me afterwards and I'll work with you on it. And then also, here again, these two folks are on the landscape committee for Third Mutual off of our board. And then Roger that can work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Steve is our finance guy on the committee, and he keeps us honest. And so we're working to keep our costs low, work within the rules of the community, and also, once again, keep you safe and beautiful. That's the goal of the landscape committee. That's why I, am working on this as hard as I can. So without further ado, I'd like to just mention, too, that we had a really lot of input from a landscape architect who lives in the community. Her name is Violet Lawrence. She's been really instrumental in helping us figure out the design of this. She's an artist and a professional, and we were lucky that she shared her time and expertise with us. She is an advisor. She comes from the community. She's still working, so, we work around her schedule too. But once again, if you have any expertise or want to help us out on the board, we could always use volunteers in all areas. So without further ado, and I do want to thank Stuart, who's worked really, really hard. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you Bunny Carpenter, who for the third board has actually taken the lead on this project. She's going to explain to you the resolution that's being written by third that is applicable to you all. And it really is something that you need to listen to and comply to. And we hope that you are happy with the end result. Bunny?
I think I can use this microphone. Okay. You know this was coming. We have a new resolution. And it is a proposed resolution at this point in time because of the legalese on it. And but we expect to have it completed by March and then it'll be handed out to every individual, before the plants come back in, so you'll be able to read it. But we had to recreate it because of the fact that we now have color coding. And the resurfaced buildings, are different than the other Garden Villa buildings. So basically, why the new resolution? So the new resolution is a policy that is set forth guidelines for safety. We talked a lot about safety today, attractiveness. We want it to be beautiful, just like this lady said here. And prevention of damage to buildings for items placed in the residence in common use area and exclusive use area.
Now, to explain the definition, the breezeway, the complete breezeway is common use area. Your patios and your balconies are exclusive use area. So the resurfacing that we're doing, I'm repeating this again, because it's already been talked about, we're going to repair the drains, the dry rot, and improve the walkway so that it is one level. And it resolves the safety issue that we have, because we have talked to residents. We have been told many times that because of the being two levels, that it creates a safety hazard to the individuals that live there. And I don't think those walkways are not wide enough sometimes for those wheelchairs and the walkers that go through there. So we're resolving that. So one of the things that hasn't been brought up is that this resurfacing is going to last us 50 years, right? Or more. Yes, we don't have to do it again. I mean, I think that's great, because you know how disruptive all of this is going to be. So anyway, we talked about the personal and social areas. So you know, and you've seen this, where it's designated, where the social area is going to be, which is these areas. But that doesn't mean that you can't have chairs and plants in these areas. Now, what hasn't been mentioned, this is 6 feet from this point. And from this point here, from the planter, is 4 feet. Oh, you want Okay, how do you turn it on? Is it on? Okay. Okay, so right here is 6 feet from the center of this planter, and this is 4 feet for the center of the planter. And we walked, especially 2385, which she said is beautiful, and I agree, it is very beautiful. But I could see from walking through there that just by bringing this in just a little bit from where it was before, that you will still be able to have your plants and your furniture there. That's not going to eliminate it. It's just going to make the walkways just a little bit bigger. I didn't test that. So, okay. So the resolution will also indicate, I guess I don't need this talking here. I'm not used to talking in front of you. So anyway, we will limit, we'll restrict, I guess that's the word to say. We only want outdoor furniture. We don't want any indoor furniture to be put on the outside. And we will designate we'll indicate in the resolution that all furniture and personal plants need to be in the designated area, okay? And with that saying, no plants, no furniture will be allowed in the walkways except for the mutual plants that have been placed there to enhance the walkway. So the building social areas will have landscape provided and maintained by staff, and building residents may collectively decide on furnishings for these areas at the expense of the building residents with approved guidelines. Actually, you get together with your building captains and decide what kind of furniture that you want there, because I'm sure you have some beautiful furniture, some of you, that can be placed in those areas. So the residents are responsible for the care and maintenance of the furniture. Mutual will be responsible for the care and maintenance of the plants that they provide. So if the plants and the furniture are placed in the walkway, residents are subject to fines because they are out of compliance. So then what's important here is that we allow access to the area, adequate clearance with a minimum of 48 inches as required by law. So the policy also addresses pots and casters. Says pots must be appropriate size, strength, and have adequate sized saucers to collect excess water and elevated by sturdy platforms with casters. Now, we know that a lot of the mutual plants have not had the casters and, for the past few years. And when they come back, are returned to the Breezeway, they will have. Some of the broken pots are gonna be replaced, and casters will be, and saucers will be put under the plants. So what's most important, and I think we've stressed it here before, is that we control the amount of water that is given, so it is not to run over the saucer and collect on floor surfaces, or fall to a lower level of the building on people, windows, and other objects belonging to neighbors. So this is a policy that is gonna be for all floors. And then again, I know how bad those stains are, on those breezeways. I've gone around and looked at it. It's horrible. So we don't want those stains. We want to keep this place beautiful. So there are certain plants that are unsuitable because they draw vermin and insects. Now, this is a rule through the whole community, and we're trying to clean it up. No tomatoes, no vegetables, and no fruit. They draw rats and they draw other insects, and it really causes a problem. So we will, if a resident is not in compliance with that, they could get fined. They're tomatoes, vegetable, and fruit. Okay, nothing can be attached to the walls. Do you know why it's so necessary for us not to attach anything to the walls? Because you're driving a nail or whatever you're driving into that wall, you could be creating mold that will develop into dry rot. But you can put something on your door. So that, but the walls, you'll be asked to take them off because of the fact that we're trying to work on dry rot. And I don't know if anybody has any idea how much we spend on dry rot right now. We spend it in our budget, it's $2 million a year just now on dry rot. But we expect that to increase in the next couple of years. So today I'm just touching on the highlights of the resolution, and I do not expect you to remember all the rules, but in March I expect the board will finalize the resolution, and at that time the hard copy will be delivered to each resident. So again, all plants returned to the Breezeway must have adequate saucers and casters before the plants are returned. And then you've seen in your handout that they're an example of the casters, and there are several people that are trying to work on discounts and be able to let you all know where you can purchase these. So I want to thank you for listening and ask you if there are any questions. Okay. Pardon?
Nothing on the wall, meaning plants.
Nothing on the wall.
Like a door number, my unit numbers, I cannot put on the wall.
No, you can't put any nails in the wall at all.
Okay, so I have no number sign on my, so I can't put any number sign there.
Yeah, I'd like, because Lynn and Stuart are more familiar with the three-story buildings.
Because I have a gate that kind of not see-through quite well. So I have a number on the door people can't see. So outside there's no number. So I can't put any number there.
My understanding isn't that correct? That we don't want anything, any nails put in the wall?
That is correct, that we don't want any penetrations on the stucco walls.
But if we kind of glue something on, can we do that?
I think the preference is not to. I don't know if there's a rule against gluing things to the wall. but
It will be in the
definitely, yeah.
resolution.
But I think it'll be addressed. But
Yes.
if your unit number is on the door and you have a gate in front of that door, you can always put it on the gate as well. Put the number on the gate.
Okay, and right now, those cordless doorbell is just glue onto the stucco wall. I cannot put a doorbell there anymore. There's no nail, but it's glued on. I mean, like a adhesive.
Right. If it's already glued on and it's already there, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
If we have a doorbell cover already over our doorbell, do we then have to remove it?
No.
No. Yeah.
That's $1 fine.
Yeah, you don't have to remove it. Yeah, our maintenance, when they do any maintenance on the wall, they'll take it off, put it back on.
Yeah, well, we have one tenant in our building that has this, it's a metal frame thing where they've got all kinds of plants on it and all. Does that have to go or can it stay?
That's not on, that's, if I recall, that's not attached to the wall.
No, it's not.
in front of the wall.
Right.
Yeah, if it's
So
within
it's
our
okay? All right.
designated area.
Steve, did you have anyone to say?
Okay. No more questions, then we'll turn it over to Lynn.
Before I get started, I want to just make one remark. Steve, I'm going to make a correction on what you said. I think you said that you weren't paying, or we weren't, the third board wasn't paying to move the plants. Did you say that?
No.
Oh, okay, okay. So I just want to make sure they realize, is my mic on? Okay. I wanted to make sure they realize that they are going to give them a half hour both ways, taking them out and putting them back in. One of the things I want to mention here in closing is in June, when I was asked to join this task force that they put together, the third board put together, I met with Bunny and Stuart and Susie. We went over to one of the buildings, one of the 3-story buildings. We actually walked all of them. We couldn't believe it. We realized immediately that this project was way bigger than we had ever anticipated. And every time we got together for another meeting or another viewing of a building, we kept realizing it was bigger and bigger. So we would keep the board apprised of what was going on. I'm just telling you, we are still in disbelief how big this project got to be. But it's going to be for 53 buildings. And I, president of the Gardenville Association, am very happy that the board is going forward with this project. It's really, really important. I have some people I want to thank. First of all, I want to thank Rosemary DiLorenzo, president of Third Board, for all her support. She's always supported us in a lot of our projects for the Gardenville buildings, and she was gung-ho in this project. So I thank her. I want to thank other Third Board members like Steve Parsons sitting here, Bill Walsh, and of course Bunny and Susie. I can't tell you how much work they put into it. Bert Moldow, John Franco, Roy Bruninghouse. I'm still learning how to pronounce your name. You're new. I also want to make sure that we realize that Violet Lawrence also got involved in this as an advisor. She had no idea how big this was, this project. And Stuart Hack, he's been totally invaluable to this whole project. We couldn't have done and gotten this far without Stuart. So, Stuart, thank you so much. And of course, Brad Hudson, he's been behind us too. He's come to some of our meetings. He's very interested and very supportive. Ernesto, we couldn't do without him. He's been really valuable also. Everybody has, actually. Bruce Hartley for landscaping and general services, Guy West, project manager, and Roger Richter, who will be totally invaluable as we move forward. And Francis Rankel, operations manager. And also, I want to really give a big thanks to Laurie. Laurie has been totally invaluable. I can't even tell you. she's made all these PowerPoint presentations, and she's helped, and she's just been great. I just have to tell you, she's a great staffer. And I think with that, I've thanked about everybody, but thank you all for being part of our pilot project. I think you're going to have a lot of issues going along the way, and we're going to try to help you get through this. So with that, I want to close. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Building captains, be sure to take extra presentations for your people in your building, so if they have any questions. And don't forget, it'll be on YouTube if you want to have some of your neighbors check it out. Thank you again.